Women of Essence, Internet Radio and TV Network.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Had as much of you as I can take. I'm so done, so over being afraid. I've gone through the motions, I've been back and forth. I know that you're thinking you've heard this before. I don't know how to say it, so I'm just gonna say it, yeah. Fear you don't own me. There ain't no room in this story. And I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not, like you know me. Well, guess what? I know who I am. I know I'm strong. And I am free, got my own identity. So fear you will never be welcome here. Take a minute, let it settle in. You probably never saw it coming. Something's gotta give, so I give up you. Oh, there's no room for you here, yeah, I've had enough. The no vacancy sign on my heart is lit up. In case you didn't hear it, here it is again. Oh, fear you don't own me.
Again, this is Carol Moulton, your host on Tea Time with Carol. I want you to come on in the good room. We've got plenty of tea, the virtual kind, ready for you once again. And we've poured it out. It's nice and hot, ready. It's a nice, what do we have? We have a nice jasmine tea for you today. So come on in, get comfy. We've fluffed up the pillows again. And get ready for another wonderful program this afternoon, evening, wherever you happen to be. I know we are broadcast all over the world. It happens to be afternoon here. But we're going to continue our conversation today about fear. That was the breakup song. Once again, that's our theme. We're breaking up with fear. We just don't have room, don't want to have room, don't need them anymore. Fear may have served the purpose in the past, but we're saying goodbye to fear, and that's been our theme for the past several weeks. Today we have a wonderful guest. I'm going to bring her on in a moment. You're going to be excited to hear about her story and all the things that she has accomplished as she has moved through a number of stages concerning fear. You're going to want to stick around and hear all about her. But first, I have a story for you. It's a true story, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's not long, so don't leave. Don't turn away. But this is a story about a shark, and This is good. This is a good story. True story. There was a study by marine biologists, and they decided they were going to see what happened, with this shark. And they did this study for quite some time. What they did, they put the shark in a tank, and then they put some bait fish in. Well, you know what the shark did, of course. He ate the fish. So this happened over and over and over for quite some time. Well, then the biologists put a partition in the tank. So the shark could see the fish, but he couldn't get to them. And so for quite some time, the shark continued to bump his head against the partition because he, was looking at the tasty fish and he could get them before, and all of a sudden now he can't reach them. Well, that went on over a period of time, and finally the biologists removed the partition. But what do you think happened with the shark? He had gotten so discouraged that he stopped even trying. He no longer even tried to eat the fish. So I submit to you now, I know you're asking, what in heaven's name does that have to do with me and have to do with fear? Well, I submit to you that I think fear operates the same way. You're the shark. You've got great potential. You're fierce. You're wonderful. You're one of God's most beautiful creatures. But sometimes things happen where, you bump your head up against disappointment. You've bumped your head up against things that have happened in your life. You've been hurt. You've been bullied. Things have happened so that now when things occur, when opportunities occur, you see them, but it's like you're afraid that partition is still there, and you don't even try anymore. So what we want to do today is to move you past that partition. The partition has been removed. It's not even there anymore, but you still operate as if it is. You get that? You get where I'm going with that? You still operate as if a partition is still there, as if there's a barrier that keeps you from all the things that you want, from all the accomplishments, from all the success. You act as if there's a barrier there, but the barrier has been removed. I'm just here to tell you today, the barrier has been removed. So stop acting as if it's still there. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I hope somebody got something out of that. So if you're listening on Facebook, I would really appreciate it if you could drop us a line or call in and give us some feedback on that. I'm interested in hearing your take on the story, and if that resonates with you, if you see how you've allowed fear to operate in your life, as if you still have a partition that keeps you from what you want to accomplish. And so let's think about that. But while we're waiting for those who wish to comment, I want to introduce you to my guest for today. She is originally from North Carolina, which is where a lot of my family is from, by the way. She is a writer. She's a very accomplished writer, by the way. She's a contributing author of a book called Dear Fear. Say that 3 times fast. Dear Fear. And that was actually one of Amazon's bestsellers. She works in several nonprofit areas. She teaches women how to be more confident in public speaking, which I think is pretty awesome. She's a founding member of a scholarship program for women from her hometown. She's a business owner. She teaches people how to trade foreign currencies. It's something that I've been meaning to get into called Forex, and it's kind of difficult. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I know people are making money with it. She stands on, and this is one of my favorite scriptures, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, Miss Ashley Little, are you with us today? Come on in.
Yes, I am. I'm happy to be on this awesome show today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You've got so many accomplishments. I couldn't list them all, but we really appreciate your coming in and spending a little time with us today. I read your writing. I read the contribution that you made to the book, Dear Fear, and thought it was just absolutely awesome. You packed a powerful punch in, it didn't take you a whole book to tell your story in a very powerful way. And so there are a couple of things that I want to ask you about. You talk about initially, you have a wonderful conversation about your grandfather and your relationship with him and his passing and how that affected you with respect to fear. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I can. So in my book, when I talk about my grandfather passing, and I talk about how traumatic the passing was because, I had a fear of death until that happened. And that was the first time I had lost somebody very close to me. So going through that was very traumatic. You know, I was not living anywhere close to home at the time. I think I was actually living in Kentucky during that time, and because I've lived many places with my career as well. So not being able to get there like I wanted to, and, you know, that's someone I talk to every day. So going through that was very, very traumatic, and I went through a season of depression as well. So I also saw that as a storm, but it wasn't a storm for me. It was a storm for someone else, you know, and testing my faith. And that's what I learned from that. And it was more so a growth opportunity for me to know to continue to push through and continue to, you know, not give up, because I knew that my grandfather wouldn't want me to. So during that time, of course, it was not a good season. It was definitely very traumatic, but I got through it. And I wanted anybody to know, you know, storms are going to come and they're going to make us very uncomfortable, but the difference is not giving up no matter what. So that's really what I learned through that. And when that happened, my fear of death, you know, I overcame that because I did have a fear of death at that time.
Well, thank you for that. And, you know, what I found really interesting was that you not only got over your fear of death, but it seemed to serve as an impetus for you in dealing with your father's illness. And would you talk a little bit about, you know, what happened? You described that your father, you know, came down with a serious illness. And, you know, I don't want to tell your story for you, you know, but I'm so tempted. But would you just describe a little bit about, there was a transition time between your grandfather's passing and your father becoming ill, and I saw it as, you know, this growth, that you were able to handle your father's illness very, very differently. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yes. Well, I lost my grandfather in 2011, and on down the road a couple of years later, in 2016, we found out that my father had cancer. So during that time, again, I was living in another state, of course. Like I said before, I move a lot with my job. We found it out. He did not tell us that he was sick, and we found out, you know, of course, when my mother took him to the doctor. During that time, I was able to handle it better because I had already went through that, but it was something that I was like, okay, I don't want to have to go through this again. I'm going to pray my way through it. Every day I pray for my father to fight this and to not to give up, you know, that, you know, he can come out of this. So I handled that one a little different because I had, like you stated, had already experienced it. I was very upset with my father at first because, you know, he didn't tell us. So during that time, that was a rough season, but I was able to grow from that, and I was able to, you know, grow closer to God. Of course, I've always had a relationship with God, but it wasn't as close as it should have been. And that season took me, it was a test of my faith to bring me closer to Him as well. Because, I prayed my way through that, through my father, you know, battling cancer, overcoming it. Because I didn't want to see him in that type of state. I didn't want to have to go home and even, you know, see him sick. So all I could do was, you know, of course, pray my way through it and have faith that God would bring him through it, and He did. So I was able to transition and overcome that in a better state and be able to move forward and know that, you know, if it's meant to be, God will bring him through, and He did.
So now, you know, a lot of times when we're on the other side of a season or the other side of a problem, it sounds, you know, when we're talking about it, because you're on the other side looking back, the perspective is very different from when you're in the storm.
Right.
So,
right.
So, you know, what I'm trying to do is help people who are in the middle of the storm. And do you have any words to help people who are not looking back, who don't have that perspective just yet, but they're dealing with maybe an illness, maybe, you know, some other big problem? And what do you do when, you know, fear feels like it's overtaken you and you're going down for the third time?
my advice would be to not give up, to understand that, the storms make us stronger. I had to learn that storms make us stronger, and it's always a light at the end of the tunnel, that there's always a process before the win. I think people look at, the actual result, but they don't look at what it took to get there. So anybody that's going through this right now, I just would say pray your way through it and, not give up. Know that it's a reason why you're going through it. And most of the times when we're going through storms, they're not for us, they're for someone else. So that's what I would give to anyone. And if you quit, then you're not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard when you're in it. It's very, 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 very hard because, I went through states of depression. I went through many different feelings, with my grandfather and with my dad. But I knew that I had to stay strong, and I had to trust God that it would be okay, But you do have moments when you're like, I want to give up. You do have those moments, yes. But if it wasn't for prayer and if it wasn't for my relationship and it wasn't for my faith, I probably would have. So for anybody that's going through it, I would say, please do not give up and understand that storms are there to help us and to make us stronger, and be okay with being uncomfortable. Because if we're not uncomfortable, then we're not growing. And I think a lot of us don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to go through the process. We just want the end result, but we have to go through the process in order to get to the end. So I would say enjoy the process and enjoy the journey.
Wow. Now that, I know there's some eyes rolling in your direction right now because I don't know if anybody enjoys pain, but I hear what you're saying, and I think what I hear you saying is if you understand that there's a purpose in the pain and it ain't going to last always, there is an end, and, praying that God reveal whatever the purpose is for this, for the season, then that makes it a little easier to deal with as opposed to, just woe is me, it's going to be like this forever.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, that's good stuff. What else do I want to? I have so many things to ask you. Now, you're a business owner with the Forex, and I've heard people talk about it, and I know that it's an interesting vehicle, but can you explain for me and for the benefit of everybody else what it is and what you do with it, and how you make it with the Forex? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Forex is basically the foreign exchange market. Before I got into Forex, I have stocks, of course. But then when I realized that the foreign exchange market trades $5.3 trillion a day, I said, why not? Why not invest in, we trade everything. We trade crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin. We trade all the foreign currencies. So I'm through iMarkets Live. I trade through iMarkets Live. And the process with us, what I want everyone to know with Forex is not a, get rich quick scheme. You're not going to be rich overnight. It is a skill set. So I'm always honest with people with Forex, when I speak about Forex. It's a skill set, and it takes about 90 days to really learn the skill. If you've been trading before, you might catch on before. But if not, if you're new to this, it takes about 90 days. The good thing about iMarkets Live, trading Forex through iMarkets Live, is that we have an educational platform that will teach you. We have training videos. We have actual live IML TV, and, we trade all day. I mean, the good thing about Forex is that it's open 24 hours, 5 days a week. So we teach you how to do it. You'll go through, different trainings and classes, and we have mentors and support there to help you before you actually trade live. And you also can demo before you start trading live. So that's a good thing about us, because we know a lot of people go into Forex without any education, and they lose a lot of money. Now, with Forex, you're going to lose some money, but you're going to make some too. So it's risk. It's a high risk, but we have to be able to understand that we can't let our emotions get involved when you're trading. That's the key thing to trading, is not letting your emotions get involved, knowing that you're already at a high risk and that you're going to lose some. But if you continue to push through and continue to learn the skill set, you will increase and win as much as you lose. So that's what I want everyone to know about the Forex. It's an awesome industry. I got into it because I wanted to continue to invest. And, of course, my goal is to retire myself from the corporate world. So I thought this was a great industry to be in, and I'm enjoying it thus far.
Well, now, you're going to have to break it down for me, because the only thing I know about trading is trading marbles when I was a kid. You know,
okay.
We would trade, you know, and maybe somebody had a cat's eye and you had a blue one or something, you know, an agate or something, and that's the only thing I know about trading is marbles. So when you talk about trading and trading foreign currency, I don't know what that means. So can you explain how that works? I take it it's not really marbles we're talking about, but it's something else, yen or something.
Yeah, you're trading yen and USD. You're trading everything pretty much. So when we're saying trading, we trade gold, we trade crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever you would like to trade as far as currencies, we trade them all. The biggest thing about Forex is that with iMarkets Live is that you can trade and you can build a team as well and to build the business side. If you don't want to build the business side, you can just trade. It is a very intense skill set where you have to learn the different, the U.S. dollar, the yen, and different things that you will be trading. But it's definitely worth it. We have the platform for it. We teach you everything that you need to know to be successful in it. We also have live trainings overseas, at night to help you learn what you're doing as well. So it's just something that you have to really get into it to really understand it, because it is a very intense skill set. So you really have to get in it to really look and see, if this is a good fit for me. Of course, but I tell anyone, we all should be investing. So I think it's an awesome thing to be a part of.
Right. So, but this is not for people who, hate risk, but for people
right.
who...
No, it's not. If you're very emotional and you don't like taking risks, I don't think trading will be for you, but you can give it a try.
Right.
Yes.
So now, to enter a trading market, is there a high entry fee if you were interested in getting involved? What kind of money are you talking about? Are you talking about $10,000? Are you talking about peanuts? Or something in between?
To start trading, the minimum you have to have is $10 to start trading.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because your money, we don't I'm trading through Forex through iMarkets Live. So basically, they don't take any of our money. You go through a broker. JAFX is one of the brokers, or so many different type of brokers you can use. Once you make your money, your trades, your money goes to your broker. If you decide to take it out of your broker account and put it in your bank account, you can do that, or you can just leave it in your broker account and let it continue to grow. It depends upon you. So say you made $10,000, you'll make $10,000. Nobody takes any of your money. That's all your money. Now, I do have a mentor that has been in about 10 months who was homeless a year ago, and she makes $100,000 a month. Now, she did not do this overnight. It took intense training and skill set, and, of course, she lost some money before a couple of times as well, but now she is that advanced where she does make $100,000 a month trading.
Okay. Wow. Well, it's awesome to learn that that's even a possibility. And I'm so glad to see a black woman getting involved in an area that has been closed off to us. This is how other folks have made money for years. And, these arenas have not always been open to everybody. So I am so glad to see someone, who represents me being able to get involved and, is willing to open the door for other folks as well. So that's great. So glad to know that there's low entry fee, but there's, you're also cautioning people that there's a learning curve and it's a high-risk area. So, as long as everyone understands those caveats, then everything's good. So if somebody was interested in doing this, what should they do? You've got people interested. Somebody is saying, I can hear them saying, okay, I got $20 in my pocket right now. Now, what can I do, Ashley? Where do I start?
Okay, so basically they're interested in, being a part of Forex through iMarkets Live. they definitely can reach out to me through email because I like to build relationships with anybody I talk with and make sure that they understand. My email address is aalittle08@gmail.com. Again, my email address is aalittle08@gmail.com, or they can follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little, and we can go from there. Also, I will tell anybody it is an investment to get started, a one-time fee of $217, because that pays for, your platform, the educational platform, pays for you to be able to trade and use our systems in order to trade the Forex, in order to trade the foreign currency. So it's a one-time investment of $217.
Okay. And when you're trading, now, I've got my $20. I've got the $217, or I can get that in a couple of days or whatever, next payday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got the 20. Now, what am I expected to contribute, or is this as I feel like, how much am I putting in? Like, okay, I've got the initial investment. Then where does it go from there? Am I looking at $20 a day? Am I looking at a month? What am I looking at going forward?
Everybody's different, and we can't, speak on everybody's different with how much they're going to make, whether they're going to lose their $20 or whether they're going to increase it. So it just depends on the person. Some people, they put $20 in, they might hold it, and hold the trade for 2 to 3 weeks to see what it'll turn into. I know people that put $10 in, and in 6 weeks they've made $5,000. So it just depends on the person. That's not a guarantee. We cannot guarantee what you're going to make. It's just going to depend on the person and how they do their trades. And some people have put it in and lost it. So it's definitely a 50-50 chance. But we can't guarantee, because one person made $5,000, another person will put $20 in and they'll make $5,000. It just depends on the trade and how they do the trade and what type of trades they're doing and the skill sets and things like that.
Okay. All right. I can't believe how fast the time has gone, but we're almost at the middle point. So we're going to pause here for a brief station identification. We want to remind everybody that we're brought to you by Women of Essence Radio and TV Network. You're going to listen to a station ID for a brief moment, and then we're going to come on back and talk some more about evicting fear.
No room in this story, and I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not. Like you know me, well, guess what? I know who I am. I know I'm strong, and I am free. Got my own identity, so fear you will never be welcome here. Is there anybody out there just like me? Anybody needing fear to leave? If you don't know how to say it, sing along with me. Sing fear you don't own me. There ain't no room in this story, and I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not. Like you know me, well, guess what? I know who I am. I know I'm strong, brave, and I am free. Got my own identity, so fear you will never be welcome here. Whoa. Goodbye, goodbye, fear. Whoa. You will never be welcome here.
Well, come on back, and we've been talking about Forex investing, which is a subject that is very, very new to me, and I'm sure new to a lot of our listeners as well. And we've been talking about Miss Ashley Little, and her story, her journey in overcoming fear. She has written she contributed to the book Dear Fear, Volume 2, and writing a letter. And what I loved about her story in particular is the eviction notice that she served on fear, which just really resonated for me, and that sort of goes along with our theme song too, where Francesca is singing and telling fear, "You're no longer welcome here." Well, Ashley did one better and said, "Here, I'm serving papers." I'm serving papers. So, Ashley, how did you come up with that, serving an eviction notice on fear? And you did it in very bold letters and all caps, so I want to tell our listeners, too.
I came up with that because writing that letter, really just writing my story, "Dear Fear, You Can't Have My Power," was definitely a healing process and relief. So that's basically, for anybody who's reading it, I was just telling fear, you are no longer here. You are no longer welcome here. You have tried to distract me from my destiny, but you did not win. I overcame it, and I pushed through. So I spoke about little different things that fear had tried to do, the different attacks in my family, in my career, in my relationships, in my friendships. So I just spoke about those things, and I wanted fear to know that you're no longer welcome here. Regardless of what type of challenges or obstacles may come my way, I will win.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome, and, sort of a different spin on it, because I think a lot of times we think of fear as something that we're subject to, that it's some, big, powerful thing that we can't speak to directly. We're just subject to the whims. And, it was encouraging to see you take back your power and not only speak to fear, but tell fear, you got to go. You papers are served. You're evicted. You're no longer welcome here. You got to leave. No room for you here. So that was wonderful. That was really, really wonderful. Now, another thing, you got so many things going on in your life. It was hard to narrow down the things that I wanted to ask you about. But there's one big area that I really want to explore with you. I know you work as an executive in the corporate world, and there are many, many, many women that I think are looking to move up into more leadership positions. And so would you talk a bit about, and I'd like to spend the rest of our time here on this part of your story and part of your journey. Would you share with our listeners, one, how you did it, how you got into the executive, into the C-suite and the corporate world, and how you were able to move up, because I think a lot of folks are interested in that.
Okay. Well, I've been in the for-profit education industry for about 13 years, going on 14 years now. Started out when I was in Virginia as a high school admission supervisor. Then I, worked my way up, by, just making sure that in each position that I served, that I overcame every obstacle, that I exceeded goals that were needed to do. I was more than likely with all my positions, I was always sent to fix a school or to grow a school or to get a school back on track. So that's something I love to do. I love challenges, and I love to grow schools and grow companies. So throughout my years, I've continued to move up the corporate ladder, which I'm very thankful for, and my results have always spoke for that. I did experience a very hard season of discrimination when I received my position, when I had to move to Kentucky for a position there. And when I walked into the room, when I started with that company, I noticed I was the only black female in corporate. So I wasn't welcomed on my first day. I was not welcomed at all. I was welcomed with challenges. I was welcomed with, can she do this? I was told, these 3 schools here in Kentucky, no one has been able to save them. No one has been able to turn these schools around. And, we don't think you can do it, but you can try. So I responded and stated, I can do it. I've done it before, and I will do it. so that's what I did. I spoke with my results. I experienced a lot of people, wearing different masks. In public, we were okay, smiling in my face. Behind closed doors, trying to fire me and trying to terminate me because of the color of my skin. Also because I was a black female and because I was a young black female. So I experienced a lot of challenges and a lot of a pushback not because of my work, but because of the color of my skin. So during those times, they were very, very challenging for me. Very challenging seasons. But what I learned was, if God puts you somewhere, they can't move you. And I wrote about that in my story. I realized that no matter what happens to me, that God put me here, so I'm not going to be moved. So I had to push through and ignore the distractions that were coming up against me. And so I chose to remain silent and just speak with my results. So instead of me, addressing the different things that were happening to me, the distractions is what I call them, and the different trials that were against me, I chose to work 10 times harder because I do believe that no matter how high you get as a black woman, you're going to have to work 10 times harder. So I worked 10 times harder, and I was able to save the schools in Kentucky the doors were about to shut. Within 6 months, I turned those schools around, grew those teams, and grew the census in 6 months. And so I was able to show my results, which spoke for me. Of course, the chatter continues, but my results spoke for me, and you couldn't move me. So for anybody that's going through, discrimination right now, have been through it, it's not a good feeling at all. It's a horrible feeling. But I had to learn because I haven't always learned, hadn't always, always responded in a way because, when I see something that is not right and is not ethical and, just plain out discrimination, I wanted to speak up. But I realized that, Ashley, you fight on your knees, not with your hands. So with that, I realized that remaining silent was the best way to go because my results will speak for me. And that's how I handle that season of my life and understanding that, they can't move you because they didn't put you here. You're assigned here. My assignment was to come in and to grow those schools and turn those schools around. And that's what I had to focus on.
Now, you said a mouthful. And let me go back to a couple of things that you said.
Okay.
Because, I rather suspect that given how things are in this country right now, there are probably a lot of people who are facing that kind of discrimination on their jobs. And it's a difficult thing. I work in that area, and it's not easy to deal with it. There's an emotional toll. There's a mental toll. And I think sometimes it's very difficult, not sometimes, all the time, it's difficult to mentally wrap your head around, why am I being treated like this? Because I'm a woman, because I'm black, and, look at the result. Look at my work. Why aren't we focused on that? Why are you focused on, whatever, protected class you're focused on, whether it's, the fact that I'm a woman or the fact that I'm over 40 or the fact that I'm black? Why is that even an issue, given that we're in the 21st century? Well, who cares about that? So, but you said, and I want to go back to this because I think this is key to fighting whatever battle that you may have. You said you fight on your knees. And for people who may not be familiar with that phrase, what does that mean?
That means your prayer life, your faith, believing and trusting in God that he will fight that battle for you. It's a way, and I always say it's a way to speak up for yourself, but I always believe that your results will speak for you, and that when you pray your way through it, that you will come out on top. Because if I would have went the other way and decided to entertain the distractions, that's what they wanted me to do. You know,
right.
don't give people a reason. Don't give them a reason to push you out, you know, right? And I knew they didn't have any reason. They were trying to find reasons to terminate me. You know, they were trying to, but I decided to pray on my knees and let God handle that, which he did. And my results spoke for me. Because if we give in to those distractions, that's when we lose.
Right.
When we give in to, that's what they want us to do.
Right. So what I hear you saying is, you know, be impeccable with your word.
Yes.
Be impeccable with your work, and rise above. You
yes.
know, rise above, because it, you know, when you're soaring, you know, people can't. There's nothing they can do about it. They can't mess with you when you're turning in your work. But you're absolutely right. You know, if you go back and try to, you know, entertain it, you know, well, you said this and you said that, and it becomes a he said, she said kind of thing, it does become a much bigger distraction. And it's difficult to do because flesh wants to say you're wrong and argue and, you know, tell these people off and cuss them out and all those kinds of things. And what I hear you saying is, you know, if you focus on prayer and if you understand your purpose in being there in the first place, then, you know, you don't give in to flesh. It just wants to cuss them all out real good one time, you know, and then go sit down somewhere, you know.
Right. Because I had to realize that, and I think we all have to realize when we're going through things, those songs it's not about me. This song wasn't about me. It was for someone else, you know? So I had to realize that, and I had to remember, in the words of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high.
Exactly.
So I had to, you know, remember those things. Right. So, yes, that's the way I handle it, and I'm glad I handled it that way because I'm continuing to soar. If I were to have handled it another way, that would have knocked me back. You know, that would have put me back or set me back, you know. But the assignment was on my life, so it wasn't – whatever came against me wasn't going to work.
So, you know, I really want to help somebody today with that because I know that there's somebody who's listening today who's struggling on their job, who really feels like, you know, they're being treated unfairly, and these folks are against them, and they may be black and have a black supervisor and still feel like they're being discriminated against, and that may be true. But, you know, I think your words are, you know, excellent. It's excellent advice, and it's well spoken and well taken to focus on your purpose. What's my purpose in being here? Yes, they're unfair. Yes, they're mean. Yes, you know, they're not treating you fairly. But why are you there? And if you look at, you know, all the children that you were able to help in Kentucky by turning that school around, you know, if you look at, you know, the outcome of what you were able to do by not giving in to flesh, you know, so I just want to encourage somebody today to not focus on the flesh part of it and wanting to really cuss them out, but, you know, really stay focused on your purpose and being whatever that job is, whatever it is. You know, if you're, you know, sweeping floors every day, there's a purpose for you doing that, you know, and there's an honor to that. And so don't focus on, you know, people being mean or being disrespectful to you. You know, God will move things. You just keep praying. Things will move, you know, and you'll be elevated if you're faithful. You know, if you're faithful over a few things, you'll be master over many. So, you know, but I want to continue in this vein. So you dealt with the discrimination, and you're still an executive. You're still moving on up. And so for women in executive positions, now I'm one also in the federal government, just to be 100% transparent, and it's not easy. But you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people saying, how do you get there? How did you get to be, okay, so you got the degrees, you got, you know, the training, you moved your way up, but how do you make that leap? It's a big leap from, you know, the management type and supervisory type positions to being an executive. So how did you make that jump into executive land?
Well, the key thing is just staying focused, you know, knowing what you're there to do and focusing on, speaking with your results, basically, making sure that you're doing what, you know, always 150% or more. Of course, building those relationships, because relationships are important. Your destiny, I believe that your destiny is connected to your connections. So building those relationships and always, you know, I always have mentors, you know, in my career and in entrepreneurship as well. So having those mentors that have went through or have been there, done that, to lead you and help you get there as well. And that's what I contribute to a lot of my success, the mentors that I have and still have now today, as well as making sure that I always gave 150% or more. But I always set myself up for a goal of this is where I want to be within a year, or this is where I'm going to be in the next 2 years. And just making sure that you're working towards those goals. But it does take a level of maturity, and it does take turning your cheek and being very careful with how you deliver your words, and whether you like what's going on or not. And just the key thing is just staying focused. So that's really how I got there. And they knew that, you know, my work spoke for itself on top of that. So getting there, was it sometimes stressful? Yes, it was. But I was determined to do it no matter what came my way. I was determined to meet my goals and write my goals out and know that this is what I have to do to get there. And I would say, I tell everybody, get a mentor. Get a mentor in your field. Get a mentor that's been there, done that you want to become. And that's what I did. So I knew that I wanted to be on the executive team. So I have a mentor that's on the executive team, you know, and letting that person coach you and be open to constructive criticism. And know that that person always has your best interest. You know, that's what a mentor is for. And if you follow that path, because my thing is, you can't follow somebody that hasn't been there and done that. You know, if you're following somebody that you call a mentor and they haven't been where you want to go, then you might need to find out another mentor. So I would say that's really how I got to where I got. Just you know, building those relationships and those different connections.
Well, that's good. There are a couple of things in what you said. One is, if you're looking at a mentor who hasn't already done it, they can't. You said it. They can't take you where they have not gone. And so
right.
That may be a friend, that may be a buddy, a lunch buddy or something, but that is not a mentor.
Right.
One thing that I have found, and you also said be real clear about your goals. I would add a couple of things to that. One is be real clear about your level of integrity.
Yes.
Be real clear about that, because, you know, you can, well, what I have seen is if you're in a place where people are out of integrity, you may, to be popular, you may want to fall in with them and do things that you know are not appropriate. But you want that promotion. You want to be in with the in crowd. You want certain things out of it. And if it goes against your moral values and your level of integrity, you are making a big, humongous mistake, and one
yes.
that you may not be able to come back from. You know,
right.
that's a biggie. You know, you have to decide your level of integrity. You know, there's certain things I'm just not going to do. You know,
right? Me either. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just not. So don't ask me, because I'm not going to do it. You know, and that may make you unpopular. You know, but you've got to be willing to take a stand for certain things. And when you start compromising on your values, then that's a slippery slope, you know. The other thing that I would recommend is not getting involved with anybody in your office, you know, like on a
yes.
romantic kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to talk about that a little bit, Ashley?
Yes, that's very important. You know, your personal life and your work life, your career should be two separate lives. So I'm very big on that. I'm very big on when I'm at work. I'm at work because I have a job to do. I'm here to do my assignments, and we're going to keep it professional. And, of course, my personal life is different. I don't even share my personal life at work. We don't even discuss that. Mm-hmm. So I tell anyone, please keep that separate. Please keep that separate because if you don't, most of the time you will regret it. So I keep it separate. I don't even discuss my personal life. So I don't even have pictures in my office of my personal life. So I keep it professional at all times. And I tell anyone that if you want to continue, because you're already going to face enough challenges anyway, don't give them something else.
Right. Don't give, that's the truth. And then, dealing with somebody at work can get messy.
Yeah, that too.
It's all sunshine and tulips and, all that when things are going well. And then if it doesn't go well, then it can get really, really complicated. And if you're on the rise, you don't want people looking at you as the woman who was involved with so-and-so, because then you become typed as the woman who was involved with so-and-so. And they're not even looking at your skill set. Now, they're just looking at, because people gossip. Come on, let's be real. Everybody gossip.
Yes, they do. Yep.
And so, like Ashley said, you don't want to give them anything to talk about, So what else is important as an executive, Ashley? What other things, what other recommendations do you have for anybody who's looking to make that big jump? Or leadership
professional.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Just being professional at all times and always making sure you're fair. Be fair with everybody. Treat everybody the same. I'm very big on being fair because, I've been through different challenges and different things, so I'm very big on that. So I know how it feels to be mistreated and, things not being, fair. So I treat everybody fair. So if you're blessed to get in a leadership role or executive role, always be honest, be fair with everybody. Don't have favoritism. Treat everybody on the same wavelength and keep it professional at all times. I tell that to anyone because if you don't, you're going down a very slick road, and most of the time that road will crash for you because employees they'll find ways to get you out if they feel that they're treated unfairly, even if it's not the truth. So just keep everybody on the same wave. Treat everybody the same. Don't talk about, conversations outside of work. Don't go out with your employees outside of work on the weekends, hanging out with them because it just leads down the wrong road. So if you just keep it professional at all times, it will save you a lot of headaches.
Right. Yeah. I think you said it well when you said, keeping the professional and the personal separate. I don't go to work looking for friends.
Right.
Those are not people that I socialize with. And, the office where I work, that used to be the case. I mean, everything kind of overlapped, because everybody was socializing. They did a lot of socializing on the weekends and after work. And, I don't want to, I'm not much of a drinker to start with. I may have a glass of wine once in a blue moon. But I don't want to socialize with people that I work with. I don't want to drink with them. I don't even want to have iced tea with them. And it's not that I'm unfriendly. It's that my parents always taught me to keep my professional life. My mother was really big on this. Separating your personal from your professional. And I know a lot of people. I can hear people saying, "Well, why? These are my friends. These are
they're
good
not your
people."
friends.
No, they're not your friends. No, they're not. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens if you get a promotion and your girlfriend doesn't. Let's see how long she's your friend. Let's see
and then you have to understand, and just leading back to what I was talking about in my story, that everybody, the rules are not the same for everyone. Just remember that. The rules are not the same for everyone, and sometimes what one person might get away with, the other one's not. And sometimes just understand that the rules are not the same for everyone. We can't, and I'm just going to speak because I've been through it. As a black woman, you can't do, no, you always have to work 10 times harder. So always stay focused and not get comfortable, because the rules are not the same. They're not going to be the same.
Right. And you know what? You better say it, because I know that is the honest to heaven, absolute truth. You know, if you're looking for the rules being applied the same, you're going to be very disappointed. You're going to be very upset. It does not work that way. I mean, you can be upset about it. You can get emotional about it all you want to, but you may as well understand and accept that is the reality of the space that we are in right now. Can we work to change it? Of course. Is it different right now? No. So if you don't understand that, that is so critical. You know, I have seen that. There was a situation, this was several years ago. There was a guy that I worked with. He's a black man. He was good. You know, at the time, he and I were the two highest ranking black folks in the agency. This is not where I am now. This is years ago. And he made a mistake. You know, he was using Federal Express or something to send off his bills, okay? This was at a time when people weren't using the internet to pay their bills like they do now. But he was using Federal Express. And when the higher ups found out about it, now this is government, you know, I work for the government, and this was a government agency. They tried to make criminal charges out of that. And he got so upset. And I said, you know, Department of Justice doesn't have time. I mean, it may have been $1,000 or something. I don't know what the amount was. But, you know, I've seen people who have done like thousands, millions of dollars that were inappropriate. And I'm not saying that was okay, but it was overkill for them for the higher-ups to refer this guy to the Department of Justice. And I said, look, you know, so he quit his job because he felt like he was going to go to jail, you know. I said, the Department of Justice, does, you know, for this kind of stuff, all they're going to do is tell you how do you want to pay the money back. Was it the wrong thing to do? Absolutely. But, you know, it goes to your point of the rules not being applied the same way. They took a relatively minor indiscretion, and they're going to, you know, and the three highest people in the agency, the general counsel and two high up people, hand-carried this thing over to the Department of Justice and said, you know, we want criminal charges against this guy, against this black guy. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you know, there are other folks who are stealing, you know, much bigger amounts of money. Nobody says anything about that. So, again, you know, I want it to be clear that I'm not saying either one is okay.
Right.
You know, theft is theft. But in one case, it's a huge monumental thing, you know, where we want this person to go to jail, we want his job, we want blah, blah, blah. With the other cases, you know, kind of give him a pat. Oh, George, just don't do that anymore. you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I think for anybody who wants to get in any type of leadership position, if you do not understand that concept, then leadership will not be for you, because you will not last.
Right. No, you won't. No, and you will be eternally frustrated. So, be real clear that the rules are going to be different. You know, they're just going to be different. So, well, we are winding up. I think we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I really, you know, I could have go on and talk for another hour, actually, honestly, because you've been a wonderful guest, and you've got so many things to share on so many different levels, and I think our listeners have really gotten a lot from this conversation. But you got any thoughts for us in closing, and then I've got a final thought that I'll end up with.
Well, I would just tell Yes, I would just tell anyone to just focus, always stay focused. Don't be afraid to take risks. You know, don't be afraid to fail. I don't know one successful person that has not failed. And if you fail, learn from it and do it again. So just be okay with being uncomfortable. I think that's a big thing. No one wants to be uncomfortable. Be okay with being uncomfortable because it's definitely a growth opportunity. And always remember that you have a voice and stand up for what is right. And don't let they stop you, because people are going to talk about you when you're doing good, and they're going to talk about when you're doing bad. So you just have to ignore the chatter and just stay focused, and always remember that your destiny is tied to your connection. So just be mindful of your surroundings, and always know that you have to work 10 times harder and let your results speak for you. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing I would say to anyone, and know that our storms come to develop us into the person that we are today. And if we, if I know, like you stated before, Carol, that nobody wants to go through pain, but we have to. You know, I don't like to go through pain either, but it took me a while to learn that I have to go through the pain in order to receive the blessings on the other side. You know, so just remembering that helps me every day to continue to grow and continue to overcome many different challenges that we're going to face.
Good. And Ashley, I just want to thank you so much. And, you know, I've got a final thought for our listeners today, too. When depression or compulsive eating or despair or discouragement or resentment threaten to take you over, try this as an alternative. Try picturing that thing that you're dealing with as something that's really desperate. It's a desperate little force. It's not a big deal. It's a small little vulnerable and desperate force that's trying to keep you from God's grace and mercy that's already in your life. Try thinking about it that way. It's desperate, it's vulnerable. And then you can speak to it, and you can serve that eviction notice. And you can say out loud, I'm God's. I belong to God. I'm baptized, and there is nothing and no one who can tell me who I am. So just try that, and let's see how that works out for you. Let's see if things don't start to turn around and things start to open up for you, because just remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So with that, my beloveds, we're going to say goodbye for now until next time from Women of Essence Radio and Television Network. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week, next Saturday at 4 Eastern. Take care. Bye-bye.